It's Friday, which means it's time for another exciting episode of Ask Us Anything. We're going to kick things off with a question from @MarcusCH. When the most important question, according to him, Nicolas Cage, good or bad?
I think Nicolas Cage's filmography can be explained in a combination of those two words.
Good and bad.
He's good in a bad way, but bad in a good way.
Yes, I will agree with that. Although, I have to say this. I think Nicolas Cage is one of the finest actors of his generation. Like in his good movies, in Leaving Las Vegas, even in the cheesy ones like Snake Eyes or Gone in 60 Seconds, he is absolutely fantastic because I can only think of maybe a handful of other actors who are completely committed to every fucking role, no matter the film.
And I think that's the key, right? Nicolas Cage is committed. He's committed to the cheesy roles. He's committed to the fun roles. He's committed to the serious roles. He's committed.
Yeah, every time I watch a Nicolas Cage movie, I am entertained. Even the terrible sci-fi ones where I have no idea what is going on, watching him is a delight. And I think I also appreciate the fact that he is willing to take on a wide variety of roles, and it doesn't feel like he's just doing it for the money. I think he's fine. He's got lots of money. I think he's doing it just because he wants to.
What makes Nicolas Cage an exceptional acting talent is that he is committed to the roles. That's sort of the only words I can keep coming back to, right? It's his commitment to a role, any role, is beyond reproach.
Marcus, I think if you want a straight answer, I think he's more good than bad. I think it takes a certain caliber of actor to be able to pull off the kind of things that he does. Like you can laugh at him when you watch something like The Knowing, for example, but then you see him in Pig, or we're yet to see him in Longlegs. And I think that's why we've got a bunch of Nicolas Cage questions this week, because he looks absolutely terrifying in that movie. And we're going to watch that later today. But when you see him in those dramatic roles or those serious roles or those roles that require a certain level of commitment, he is transformed. He is completely different. And man, I love me my Nicolas Cage. Favorite role of all time, however, National Treasure. What a great film.
National Treasure is one of those projects where Nicolas Cage elevates the material. Like the material's fine. Like I think anybody else in that role, the movie would be just as fine. But Nicolas Cage in that role sort of takes it up a notch.
Yes.
Something like, for example, Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Nicolas Cage was fine in that movie. A lot of the sort of jokes about the movie is really focused on the writing, but Nicolas Cage focuses that energy onto himself almost, right? Like people talk about Nicolas Cage's bad movie, Captain Corelli's Mandolin, but however, I don't think it was Nicolas Cage's fault.
Which brings us to our next question.
@MyTipsyTurvy, best Nicolas Cage performance ever where he was not the lead actor. Go.
This is a tough one because Nicolas Cage has been the lead actor or a co-lead for a very long time. And the times when he wasn't a lead actor, he was something of a nobody and the roles were relatively small. However, that said, for me, I think it might be Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah.
I think he nailed
actually.
Spider-Man Noir. And I'm very excited to see what he does with the live action. It is a live action series, right? Or is it an animated series?
I think it's live action.
Oh, I'm just so excited at that.
Again, he makes the role his own without stealing the limelight of the character.
And if you didn't know it was Nicolas Cage,
It would be fine.
you'll be fine. Exactly.
It will still be a great performance. However, knowing that it's Nicolas Cage brooding in the dark corners of an animated movie just helps your sort of brain movie work better.
@Tapao Z asks, Brad Pitt's film F1 looks pretty impressive so far, but racing movies have always been a hit or miss. True. Will F1 be as good as the first Cars movie? I don't know if that last bit was being facetious. I mean, I have no problem with the first Cars movie. I think it's the best of the Cars movies. However, as the best racing movie, I'm not so sure. Like, I like it a lot, and I think it takes on some very interesting themes that play into racing. But there are better racing movies out there, man. Le Mans, Rush.
My biggest issue with the question is the fact that we've only seen one trailer. I mean, shit, they're still casting people from that movie.
I'm excited by the film because of the pedigree behind it. We were speaking about this when we first saw the trailer, but the idea of a 60-year-old still driving F1 is a bit ludicrous, lah. But I don't know if the movie will actually address that or pretend that Brad Pitt is a lot younger. But from what we've seen in the trailer so far, yes, it does look amazing.
Again, we always caution against rating a film based off of its first trailer or based on any trailer. The F1 trailer is impressive, is exciting looking. However, it is a trailer. That trailer tells you nothing about anything. And I guess that's what we both want from a trailer. We just want the cool bits so that we can watch the movie and find out what the story is later.
And Joseph Kosinski is a pretty decent director. I mean, Top Gun Maverick aside, which was excellent. I've liked a lot of his movies. I enjoyed Oblivion. I thought Tron Legacy was really cool. Only the Brave was good. I hadn't seen Spiderhead, which is the Chris Hemsworth movie. I wasn't sure if that was very good. But on the whole, he's got a pretty good filmography and one that's quite varied as well. And so, yeah, following on from Top Gun Maverick, I'm excited just because this is his next movie.
Also, can I just say, the fact that it's produced by Apple Studios, I think Apple Studios is building for itself a brand that we haven't seen in a very long time. You know, like when we were younger, we'd be like, oh, it's the new Paramount film or it's the new Columbia movie, right? You immediately know what that's about. Like right now, you're thinking about people like A24, you're thinking about people like Blumhouse. They come with a set expectation, a set identity. And I think Apple Studios' identity right now is the fact that they do very good content. Sure, Napoleon may not have been for you, but it was still a very good film.
Do you have a favorite racing movie though, Bai?
Like off the top of my head, I can't think of one right now.
I enjoyed Rush. I just loved the story behind it, and I thought Ron Howard did a great job. My guilty pleasure racing movie is still the Sylvester Stallone Driven.
I mean, that's terrible.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
That's
fucking
absolute
love
dog
it. On
shit,
Rotten
but-
Tomatoes, that movie has like 14%. But
Yeah.
I thought it was just silly and stupid and Rennie Harlan, and it's the tone and the mood. The movie
Yes.
itself is stupid.
Yes, exactly. But the vibes of that film is fantastic.
Days of Thunder is a great film. Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
way back. That was Tony Scott, not Ridley.
Yes.
I really enjoyed Senna, but that's not a movie. That's a documentary.
It's hard to say you enjoy Senala.
It's a tragic film, lah, but
Yeah,
the way
it's
it was
a-
shot and the way the story was told
Yeah,
was
the way it
absolutely
comes together. Yes,
fantastic.
yes,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I think Tapao's question is correct. There is something about racing movies that's hard to tell in a sort of just in a linear storytelling sort of way because so much happens.
For me, the problem is always how do you make it exciting? And so what ends up happening is filmmakers fall back on similar tropes. Oh, look, he's shifting his gear very fast and he's sweating in the cockpit.
Yeah.
And they're doing all of this stuff because they're trying to make it good for you, the audience. Because you're not just watching cars go round and round a track, right? You want to see how the actor or the character is coping with what is going on screen. In that sense, Ford v Ferrari did it very well. Also, last year's Gran Turismo. I don't think it got enough love. I thought it was very well executed. I thought it was a lot of fun. And honestly, they did a good job in taking a very threadbare story and making it something quite cool.
I kept getting caught up in the threadbare story.
I'm excited about F1. I think we'll get a better idea of what the movie is about when we see the next trailer, the full trailer, and not just a teaser. But for the most part, count me in.
Kailash Laxman asks, just watched Fly Me to the Moon and what a treat it was. On the same kind of tangent, what are some of the sci-fi movies tied to books that you guys think are a must-watch? The Martian.
The basic stuff lah. Dune, obviously. 2001. Blade Runner. Children of Men. Arrival. I love Minority Report. I think it's one of Spielberg's finest movies.
Interesting.
Ready Player One is great.
I think a lot of those movies you've listed, for a lot of the common people like myself, we think automatically about the sort of movie first as opposed to the book.
Iron Giant, based on a children's book, is one of my favorite cartoons. I think it's a fantastic adaptation. It's wholesome and brilliant. More recently, on Apple TV Plus, Dark Matter is a brilliant adaptation of a really cool book. And there's a new series that just started, also Apple TV Plus, Sunny, based on a very good book. Apple TV Plus actually seems to be the place to go to if you want to see great sci-fi.
Yeah.
And a lot of that sci-fi has been adapted from books.
And also, like, hard sci-fi.
Do you count Hunger Games as sci-fi or is that fantasy? Because Hunger Games I thought was a pretty good adaptation, like the original movies.
Yeah.
Oh, Age of Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Based on a Japanese novel called All You Need Is Kill. Age of Tomorrow is a great movie and a great adaptation.
Akira is a fantastic sci-fi film. Ghost in the Shell, not the feature film, but the original anime Ghost in the Shell is fantastic. I mean, yeah, if you're looking for stuff like that, go to the classics, go to Akira, go to Ghost in the Shell, and then work your way back up.
At Harvin CC asks, what are your expectations of Gladiator 2?
Fantastic. I think it's going to be a ride.
I really look forward to Ridley Scott movies now because Ridley Scott feels like he's in his I don't give a fuck era.
Yeah.
He just wants to do what he wants to do. He's in his 80s. People are giving him money to make very big movies and a lot of money. Like this one is apparently massively over budget. And it looks like he's just going nuts. I believe historically there were no gladiators riding rhinos in the arena, in the Colosseum.
You shut your mouth.
But Ridley Scott doesn't give a fuck. And
shut your mouth.
Watching that trailer is so chaotic. I love it. Watching that trailer, I kept waiting for Denzel to just go, my man.
Like, hitch up his pants, right?
Yeah, hitch up his toga and be like, my man. I mean, it looks batshit crazy. I am here for it. Like, I also love the fact that Ridley Scott is not fucking about. He is like, you guys like the first Gladiator movie? Well, look, motherfuckers, there's Maximus's sword and his armor that Paul Mescal's going to wear. I'm like, yes.
Just go baller.
Trailer opens, it's like, boom, Russell Crowe in like sepia. There we go, motherfuckers.
I believe in the original, those scenes were actually already in sepia. But I was one of those guys that was just like, why do I need a Gladiator 2? Gladiator 1 was a perfect film. And then I saw the trailer. I'm like, no, give me more.
This looks crazy.
I only want him to direct it. I don't want somebody else to take over. I don't give a shit. Like, if he passes away and like, if he's written 3/4 of a script, just burn it. It's fine. It's okay. I'm done. Only he can do Gladiator. It's okay. Let's just go.
We have a follow-up question from @RabbitHop.
Do you think the writer on a movie is as important, if not more important, than the director? Gladiator 2 is directed by Ridley Scott, who is the GOAT, but I have doubts about David Scarberg after Napoleon. Also, who are some of your favorite movie TV writers? Mine are Nolan and Taylor Sheridan. Let's do the first one first.
Yeah, let's do the first one first.
It's hard. I think the argument about who is better is almost a moot question. Only because a great director can elevate a decent script, but a great director cannot fix a terrible script. And vice versa, right?
So you say that, and on the whole, I believe that. However, I don't know if you saw this interview with Russell Crowe, where he was talking about his reluctance to do Gladiator. Because he turned it down at first. Because he said the script was shit. And only once he started working with Ridley Scott and they developed it together did it become something great. So I think there is that possibility as well.
We don't know what the original script was, right? We don't know
That's true.
how much of the original script is kept. Is it a drawing of the character? Is it a story beats problem, right? And I think, again, I still think my statement rings true because Russell Crowe may have called it shit, but Russell Crowe's also, and I love Russell Crowe, but he's also in the new Craven movie. So
That is true.
let's question a little bit his ability to tell a movie is good based on a script. If a script is terrible, a great director cannot fix it.
But I also think they're equally important. And I think
I agree.
there are a couple of things that people often miss when talking about film and television, in that it is truly an ensemble work. And if you just stay through any end credits of a film, you just see the thousands of people involved. And of course, all we often talk about are writers and directors, occasionally cinematographers and composers, maybe an editor from time to time. And those are the big names that we kind of mention. But actually, you cannot make a film of any scale without a large number of people, and all of them kind of contribute. And I'm not just saying that as everyone deserves a prize, everyone is important. But I think if you look into the act of filmmaking and if you read about it, you realize, yeah, it is an absolutely chaotic endeavor, and it's amazing that anything actually comes out of it. Like, it's truly crazy. I mean, if you ever have the opportunity to be on a film set, I would recommend you go just to take a look at how insane everything is. And you'd be amazed that anything actually works.
And you'll be amazed at how long anything takes.
Oh my God, there is so much just sitting around and waiting and doing nothing.
Yeah. Like Rabbit Hop, you may have doubts about Scarpa after Napoleon, but we both kind of enjoyed Napoleon. I think we enjoyed what that movie was trying to do. Sure, historical accuracies aside, he wasn't making a documentary. He was making an entertaining piece of fiction, and let's call it that. It's fiction, right? It's not true to life. And I think that's fine. I think it may not work for some people, but I think the movie wasn't a bad movie.
Also, Scarpa's done some pretty good work. The Last Castle with James Gandolfini and Robert Redford was very good. I also enjoyed All the Money in the World, which was another Ridley Scott movie. I'm curious to see what he's done with Gladiator 2. But also, I think if you get the chance, and if you haven't done so already, dig up some screenplays online and try to read them, because the act of writing a screenplay is very different from the act of writing an article or a piece of prose or a novel even. A screenplay is nothing like that. A screenplay is just a weird blueprint plan. Like, I remember looking at the screenplay for Arrival, and like one of the most impactful sequences in that movie was when you first see the spaceship, right? And it just looks incredible and tremendous, and you're like, oh, look at this epic sequence. In the screenplay, it just says spaceship.
Yeah. I think that's why a combination of a good director and a good director is important, because actually, no, I disagree. A combination of a good writer, director, and producer.
Yes.
Because a script is very bare bones. Fight happens in page 7. What that fight is, we don't know, right? Spaceship arrives. It's up to the director, the producer, and the people they bring in, the cinematographer, the art design, the production designer, to interpret that scene to be more than just 2 words, spaceship arrives. And I think that's what's important, because a script doesn't have any background. It is what is action on screen. That's all a script is. It doesn't tell you the color of the shirt. It doesn't tell you the design of the ship. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to tell you what you see. And then after that, it belongs to the director, the production designer, the producer to interpret those words into what they want to see on screen.
Favorite TV and movie writers, Bahir? I mean,
Aaron Sorkin.
I was just going to say we can both say that at the same time, actually. Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin.
I have quite a lot. I mean, William Goldman is one of my favorites of all time. Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, Princess Bride. He wrote a whole bunch of great novels. Usually when I see those names on screen, if I see Charlie Kaufman, I'm quite excited. If I see Spike Lee, I'm very excited. Oliver Stone, Quentin Tarantino. Sure, some of them are writer-directors, but at the same time, I'm always excited to see what they do next. Alexander Payne, for example.
Yeah.
The late Nora Ephron, also one of my favorites. Paul Thomas Anderson. Yeah, there are a bunch of people whose names, if I see, I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. Maybe you've got something cool. Maybe you've got something exciting. Oh. Cameron Crowe. Almost Famous. I fucking love Cameron Crowe.
Hang on. I don't want to be a wet blanket to you here, but someone like Cameron Crowe, whose filmography is fairly limited, is that just because of your affinity for that one particular film?
I mean, no lie. I mean, Say Anything, Singles, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Almost Famous, Vanilla Sky, a lot lah. And they're all pretty solid, dude. Come on.
Solid. It's a solid filmography.
A lot of people didn't like We Bought a Zoo, but I fucking love that movie.
Because you want to buy a zoo.
I want to buy a zoo.
I do want to buy a zoo. For me, honestly, I don't have as many as you. I think the only person I'm actually actively looking out for is Aaron Sorkin. Like, from time to time, I will Google search Aaron Sorkin, what is he doing now?
I agree. Like, for me, it is still my number one in that his writing excites me the most.
Yes.
Like, if it is an Aaron Sorkin movie or an Aaron Sorkin series, I am like, hold everything.
Yeah. Shut everything down for the next 6 months while I wait for this thing.
Correct.
Yes.
At Naili Zulkifli asks, is it just me or have I not seen you guys talk about Succession or Euphoria? Also, what are your thoughts on the local series Project Anchor SPM, High Council? Personally, not a fan, but appreciate that it has encouraged better writing and production for local television. So, Naili, I think with Euphoria, When season 1 came out, we did watch it. I haven't seen any more of it, not because I thought it was bad, but because it wasn't for me. It was it was just too much of a downer. It was just like all of the performances were great and I thought the writing was good, but everyone was so self-destructive that I found it difficult to watch and I just couldn't get into it. That was my problem with Euphoria.
Yeah, and I think with Euphoria, there is a very targeted audience that they want, and we are not that audience. And it's not just a language thing, it's a lifestyle thing, it's a fashion sense thing, it's a show design thing that people in our, well, I want to say people in our 40s, but like I think there will be people who like it. But for us, it's just not, doesn't work at all. Like it is not entertaining for us. It is not something that we want to watch on a week to week basis. With regards to Succession, I mean, Uma is a big fan of Succession. I just never had the chance to get onto it. I think I binged season 1, but there were too many episodes after that for me to keep up because of other work. So
Yeah, you didn't jump in as it was coming out. You came to it late.
very late. I watched the first episode the week before the final season aired. So there was no way for me to catch up to be part of that conversation.
Yeah, which is the only reason why we haven't actually covered it properly. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Succession. I think it's tremendous acting, tremendous writing, just one of the greatest shows on television. And yeah, as for the local stuff, I've only seen High Council. I haven't seen Project Anchor SPM. I haven't seen all of High Council either. I also came to High Council late. And of course, given all the other stuff we had to watch, I've only seen a few episodes of it. I think it's all right. I think the quality of High Council is a lot better than what we usually get on local television. And yes, in that sense, I totally agree with you that it has encouraged better writing and production because it feels like Astro has also been buoyed by that. And they have been putting more effort into some of the newer series they've been putting out. And so that's good. It still feels very Malaysian to me and everything that entails. It hasn't necessarily transcended that level yet.
It hasn't passed the it's good for a Malaysian TV show caveat.
Correct.
And that's a problem for us. But just because we haven't spoken about it doesn't mean we haven't seen it.
That's true. We watch a lot of stuff that we just don't have time to actually record a podcast or write an article about, just because it's a lot quicker to consume content than it is to actually write about it or comment on it. And that's why it takes us longer. Yeah.
I agree with Nelly. I think those titles that was mentioned here, Project Anchor, High Council, even One Cent Thief, are big step ups for the Malaysian drama scene.
Yeah.
I hope they keep climbing that stair. And our last question at Loudy Library asks, what are some movies that you felt would do well if they were a series?
Oh.
Ooh. What would
this
I
is
want
a
to see more
tough
of?
one.
Yeah.
Does Loudy Library mean movies that should be adapted to a TV series? Like the Lethal Weapon TV series that was terrible? Or movies that would do better as a TV series? When I think about that, I think of something like MASH, which was a brilliant film, but I do think the TV series took it to another level.
Yeah.
Completely different things, mind you. The movie was serious satire on war and just like a black comedy. Meanwhile, the TV series was slightly lighter, but it still took on those same issues and, of course, went on for 10 or 11 years. And I think that's one of the best ever examples of a movie being adapted or converted into a TV series, right? They used to do this a lot in old Hollywood. Whenever they had a successful franchise, they would be like, let's bring it to TV. Let's make it a cartoon. Let's make a Rambo cartoon because kids need to watch Rambo, or Planet of the Apes TV series. They would find different ways of monetization. So it's been going on for ages. It's not really a new phenomenon. However, when I think about movies that I like and characters that I like and I want to see more of, like for me, one of the best examples of how you do that is when Aaron Sorkin converted the American president into the West Wing. Completely different concepts, but having worked in that sandbox, he went, oh, wait, we can have some fun with this. There's more here.
Yeah.
Let's make something like the West Wing. I like it when they take that approach, as opposed to let's retell the movie and then stretch it out into 22 episodes.
I'm looking forward to the Harry Potter TV series.
Oh, yes.
Only because a lot of the books were left on the sort of writing floor when they were adapting it to film, as they should.
We were talking about this the other day. A Top Gun TV series would be cool.
A Top Gun TV series would be fucking fantastic. A series just following the Top Gun school and these young pilots coming in and out of it, I think is interesting. We don't have to follow them to war, all that stuff. No, just focus it on the school, which is what the movie is called. And for me, whenever I think of this question, I'm always asking myself, what is the universe I want to see more of?
Yes, agreed.
The Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films were fantastic. I loved Rings of Power. But would I want a Lord of the Rings TV series? Fuck yeah, I would. Because there's so much of that book that was skimmed through, that was left out when Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens wanted to tell their sort of 2.5 story.
Another great example for me is Westworld. It was made into a movie way back in the day with Yul Brynner. I think Michael Crichton directed it as well.
I'm not sure.
But of course, the HBO TV series is a completely different beast and just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And there are even some movies which have throwaway lines in them, which kind of hint at bigger worlds.
Yeah.
I think Blade Runner is a great example. And yes, we've seen some of those worlds be expanded in the comic book series. There's an ongoing series of comics, multiple comics set in the Blade Runner universe. All of that kind of builds on what we saw in the 2 Blade Runner movies. And now there is going to be a Blade Runner series with Michelle Yeoh. So
yeah,
in a nutshell, those are the kind of things we like to see when we think about movies becoming TV shows.
Yeah.
Not the Lethal Weapon garbage type stuff, because you can't capture that bromance magic.
There's also stuff that should have been easy to adapt, but failed considerably, right? Like The Equalizer. I think Equalizer was a TV show. Is it
still
TV
going
show?
on, my friend? Queen Latifah, baby.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Because my issue with The Equalizer TV show is this idea that a problem can be solved in about 45 minutes. Whereas the original films is about how Denzel has to spend... I mean, he doesn't have to spend a week solving a problem, but that's the fun of it, right? Like, these problems require him to do a bunch of things and not just settle it in a 45-minute story.
In a big roundabout way, that is what we want to see from movies that get adapted into TV shows. Tell us what some of yours are, Laudi Library. Just comment on our Instagram feeds. That's the last question for the day, which brings us to the end of another exciting episode of Ask Us Anything. Keep your questions coming in, and we shall endeavor to answer them in the best way possible. You know how to reach out. Goggler MY, all of our social media feeds. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline, 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.